Okay, let's talk about modern relationships. It's this incredible journey, right? It starts out feeling like a game of attraction. But where it ends up, well, it's literally a matter of survival. We're going to get into why the things we say we want in a partner often have nothing to do with who we actually go for, and why figuring all this out might just be the most important thing you ever do for your health. So, if you ask people what they're looking for, the answer seems pretty straightforward. A study back in 2018 found that almost 90% of women said kindness was their number 1 priority. That's the official story, you know? We're all out here searching for someone supportive and kind. But is that what's really going on? Because then you get a dose of reality. As one Reddit user just laid it out, the real-world checklist looks a little different. First, there has to be physical attraction. Then you see if you vibe, if you're socially compatible. And then, way down at number 3, kindness finally enters the picture. And that is the fundamental conflict we're digging into today. What we claim we want versus what our actions show we want. Which leads us right into the first phase, what we're calling the attraction game. This is that messy, chaotic beginning where our gut instincts are basically in a wrestling match with our best intentions. You know, there's actually a term for this in psychology. It's the difference between our stated preferences and our revealed preferences. Basically, it's the gap between the thoughtful, kind person you describe on your dating profile and the person you find yourself actually swiping right on at midnight. We tell ourselves we're looking for depth, but our brains are often wired to respond to what we see first, whether we like it or not.
Okay, so let's say you get past the swipe and you actually land a first date. How do you make that first meeting really count? Honestly, the basics are about showing you're interested in more than just looks. Be specific, show up on time, that's just respect, and pick a place where you can actually hear each other talk. And, make it a two-way conversation. This is all about setting the stage for something real, right from the jump.
All right, so a good first impression is made. Now let's see how you build on that. It's time to move beyond the initial swipe and into what really matters, creating a genuine connection. And this right here is a really critical idea. You have attraction, and then you have connection. Attraction is that initial spark, that whoa. But a connection, that's when things just click. It's this feeling of safety and respect that's built on things you both actually care about. Getting these two mixed up is a classic mistake. I mean, building a whole relationship on just attraction is like trying to build a house on sand. It's just not going to last. So the million-dollar question is, when you're in that whirlwind of a new romance, how in the world are you supposed to tell the difference? Is this just a fun, temporary thrill, or is it actually the beginning of something real? Well, here's a really practical little trick you can try, the cool-off method. After you hang out, just stop. Don't text, don't replay every moment in your head. Give yourself a full 24 hours. Let all that initial excitement, all those chemicals, just settle down. Then, get a piece of paper and write down actual concrete evidence of a connection. Not just, oh, we had a good time, but things like, we both see the world the same way on this issue, or we're both working on the same things in our lives. If you can't list anything real, you might just be running on the fumes of pure attraction. So let's say a real connection is there. The conversation naturally starts to turn toward commitment. But here's the thing. In our world today, even the biggest symbol of commitment, marriage, is getting a complete rethink. I mean, just look at Sweden. Back in 2018, the average age for a woman getting married for the first time was almost 34. This isn't just about people waiting longer. It shows how much our priorities have shifted. Marriage isn't seen as the starting point of adult life anymore. For a lot of people, it's something that happens much later, after they've built their own lives first. And a study from 2020 on educated women in Sweden really breaks down this tension. On one hand, individualism makes a big wedding seem like this amazing, unique way to celebrate your love. But on the other hand, it brings up this fear of losing your freedom. It's the same with gender equality. Marriage can provide legal protection, especially if you're having kids, but it also comes with this historical baggage of women getting stuck with most of the housework. It's a real push and pull. And this quote from one of the women in that study just nails it perfectly. She says, "I just want this party. It's a way to celebrate our love." You see, for so many now, marriage is less about tradition and more about this deeply personal romantic event, a party to show the world how unique your love story is. So you've made the leap, you've made the commitment. But here's the thing. No relationship gets to live in a happy little bubble. It has to survive all the pressures of the real world. And what are those big pressures? Well, according to the American Institute of Stress, the number one stressor by a landslide is work. A whopping 65% of people say that stress from their job is hurting their relationships. That's a massive outside force just hammering away at our personal lives, way more than money problems or even having a new baby. And speaking of babies, that kind of stress is just on another level. As this person on Reddit puts it, it's the perfect storm, right? You're not sleeping, you're stressed, and you have zero time for each other. A baby doesn't necessarily create new problems, but it's like a giant magnifying glass for any little cracks that were already there. Okay, now it's time to zoom all the way out to the final and honestly the most important stage of this whole life cycle. Because it turns out the quality of our relationships doesn't just affect how happy we are, it has a real direct impact on our health and on how long we live. This number is it's mind-blowing. A massive review of 148 different studies found that people with strong social connections have a 50% higher chance of survival over time. Let's be really clear about that. This isn't some small lifestyle choice. This is one of the biggest factors in predicting longevity that we know of. It's huge. And to put that 50% number into perspective, just look at this chart. The risk to your life from being socially isolated is about the same as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. And as you can see, it's actually a bigger risk than drinking too much. This isn't just about feeling good. Our social lives are a public health emergency. But there's a really important detail here. There's a difference between social isolation, which is just the physical fact of being alone, and loneliness, which is the painful feeling of being alone. And the research shows it's that feeling, the loneliness, that's more damaging to our mental health. It's really about the quality of our connections, not just the quantity. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning. We started out by calling attraction a game. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard thought the entire process was a game, but he called it seduction. He argued that it's not really a search for truth or authenticity, but this constant performance, a game of signs and appearances that always hides a part of the truth. And that leaves us with one last really big question. If the science is telling us that our actual survival is tied to having strong connections, then is this game of attraction and seduction really just a game at all? When you think about it, with life or death stakes on the line, maybe learning how to see past the game to build something real is the most important skill we could ever possibly learn.